The champagne glass slipped from my fingers and shattered against the marble floor the moment I saw him walking through the garden entrance. David, my sister's ex-husband, the man who had nearly destroyed her 5 years ago, was now standing at her wedding reception, uninvited and unwelcome, wearing that same cocky smile that had once charmed our entire family. I'm Natalie Harrison, and I've spent the last 5 years watching my sister rebuild her life from the ashes of her first marriage. Today was supposed to be her perfect day, the culmination of everything she'd worked so hard to achieve. Instead, it was about to become a battlefield. The morning had started like a fairy tale. Amelia stood in front of the full-length mirror in our childhood bedroom, now converted into a bridal suite, while I carefully fastened the delicate pearl buttons running down her spine. Her dress was everything she'd dreamed of: vintage lace with cap sleeves, flowing into a train that seemed to float behind her like morning mist. "I can't believe this is really happening," she whispered, her reflection glowing with happiness I hadn't seen in years. "Believe it," I said, adjusting her veil. "Marcus is perfect for you, and today is perfect." Marcus Patterson was everything David wasn't. Where David had been impulsive and selfish, Marcus was steady and considerate. Where David had made promises he couldn't keep, Marcus had already proven his devotion through 2 years of patient courtship. He'd waited while Amelia worked through her trust issues, never pressuring her, always supporting her dreams of opening her own interior design firm. Our parents had arrived early, Dad looking distinguished in his navy suit, Mom dabbing at her eyes with a tissue she'd been carrying since breakfast. Even our usually stoic grandmother had gotten emotional seeing Amelia in her wedding dress. "She looks just like you did on your wedding day," Grandma Rose told Mom, squeezing her hand. The ceremony itself was breathtaking. Amelia had chosen the Riverside Gardens, a historic venue with rolling lawns that led down to the water's edge. White roses and baby's breath adorned every surface, creating an atmosphere of timeless elegance. Marcus waited at the altar, his eyes never leaving Amelia as she walked down the aisle on Dad's arm. I stood beside her as her maid of honor, watching as they exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Marcus spoke about finding love when he'd least expected it, about how Amelia had taught him that the best things in life were worth waiting for. Amelia's voice trembled slightly as she promised to trust in their love, to never let fear keep her from happiness again. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden when they kissed, officially becoming husband and wife. Even I, who had been determined to keep my makeup intact, found myself reaching for tissues. The reception began without a hitch. The band played soft jazz while guests mingled on the terrace, sipping cocktails and admiring the view. Amelia and Marcus moved through the crowd like they were floating, accepting congratulations and basking in the glow of their happiness. I was making my way to the bar when I noticed a disturbance near the entrance. Our wedding planner, Janet, was speaking in hushed, urgent tones to one of the security guards. That's when I saw him. David looked exactly the same as he had 5 years ago, tall and lean with dark hair that always seemed perfectly tousled. He wore an expensive suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, his trademark confidence radiating from every pore. But there was something different about him too, something harder around the edges. He spotted me before I could turn away, and his smile widened. "Natalie, you look fantastic. Where's the beautiful bride?" I stepped between him and the main reception area, my heart pounding. "What are you doing here, David?" "I'm here to congratulate my ex-wife. Of course. Can't a man attend his former sister-in-law's wedding?" "This is Amelia's wedding," I said firmly. "Her second wedding. You know, the one to the man who actually deserves her." His smile faltered slightly. "Still protective of little sister. I see. Some things never change." "Some things do change," I shot back. "Like Amelia. She's happy now. David. Really happy. And I won't let you ruin that." "Ruin it? I'm here to celebrate with her. We're adults, Natalie. We can be civil." But I knew David better than that. He'd been Amelia's college sweetheart, the charming business student who'd swept her off her feet during her senior year. They'd married young, against our parents' advice, and for a while, it seemed like a fairy tale. David had big dreams and bigger ambitions, and Amelia had believed in him completely. The problem started when David's business ventures began failing. He'd invested their savings in a series of get-rich-quick schemes, each one more disastrous than the last. When confronted, he'd become defensive, then manipulative, then cruel. The final straw came when Amelia discovered he'd been having an affair with his business partner, claiming he needed someone who understood the pressures he was under. The divorce had been ugly. David had tried to take half of everything, including the small inheritance Amelia had received from our grandfather. He'd fought her on every point, dragging the proceedings out for months while bleeding her dry with legal fees. By the time it was over, Amelia was emotionally and financially devastated. "Where is she?" David asked, trying to peer around me. "She's busy being happy," I said. "Something you made impossible for her before." "That's ancient history, Natalie. I've changed. I've learned from my mistakes." "Have you? Because last I heard, you were living in Seattle with wife number 2. How did that work out?" His jaw tightened. "That didn't work out. But that's not why I'm here." "Then why are you here, David?" "Really?" He was quiet for a moment, and I saw something vulnerable flicker across his features. "Because I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. I let the best thing that ever happened to me slip away, and I've regretted it every day since." "You're 5 years too late." "Maybe. But I had to try. I had to see her. Talk to her one more time. She's married, David. Married to someone who loves her the way she deserves to be loved." "I loved her." "No, you didn't. You loved the idea of her, the way she made you feel about yourself. But you never loved her enough to be faithful, to be honest, to put her needs before your own." Before he could respond, I heard Amelia's laugh from across the terrace. She was dancing with Marcus, her face radiant with joy. David's eyes found her immediately, and I saw the pain that crossed his features. "She's beautiful," he said quietly. "She's happy," I corrected. "And she's going to stay that way." I signaled to the security guard, but David held up his hand. "I'm not going to cause a scene. Natalie, I just want to talk to her for 5 minutes." "Absolutely not. She's a grown woman. She can decide for herself whether she wants to talk to me." "She already decided, 5 years ago, when she divorced you." But David was already walking away from me, heading toward the dance floor. I hurried after him, my heart racing. This was exactly what I'd been afraid of since Amelia announced her engagement. David had a way of showing up at the worst possible moments. I reached the edge of the dance floor, just as the song ended. Amelia was laughing at something Marcus had whispered in her ear when she looked up and saw David. The color drained from her face. "Hello, Amelia," David said, his voice carrying that familiar mixture of charm and vulnerability that had once made her fall in love with him. Marcus stepped protectively in front of his wife, his jaw set. "I think you're at the wrong wedding, friend." "I'm David Morrison," David said, extending his hand. "Amelia's former husband. I just wanted to congratulate her on her happiness." Marcus didn't shake his hand. "Well, you've congratulated her. Now you can leave." "Marcus, it's okay," Amelia said quietly, though her voice was shaking. "David, what are you doing here?" "I wanted to see you, to apologize, to make sure you're truly happy." "I am happy," she said, slipping her hand into Marcus's. "Very happy." "I can see that. He's a lucky man." The three of them stood there in an awkward triangle while the other guests began to notice the tension. I could see people whispering, pointing, trying to figure out what was happening. "You need to leave," Marcus said firmly. "This is our wedding day." "I know. And I'm sorry for crashing it. I just needed to see Amelia one more time, to tell her how sorry I am for everything that happened between us." "You're sorry?" Amelia's voice was rising now, her composure beginning to crack. "You're sorry for cheating on me, for lying to me, for trying to take everything I owned in the divorce?" "Yes, David said simply. I'm sorry for all of it. I was young and stupid and scared. And I hurt the one person who mattered most to me. Don't, Amelia said, backing away from him. Don't you dare try to rewrite history. You didn't hurt me because you were young and scared. You hurt me because you were selfish and cruel. You're right, David said. I was selfish. I was cruel. And I've spent every day since regretting it. Enough, Marcus said, stepping between them. Security. But David held up his hands. I'm going. I just wanted to say one thing. He looked past Marcus to Amelia. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, and I'm not asking for it. I just wanted you to know that losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And seeing you this happy, seeing you with someone who obviously adores you the way you deserve to be adored, it gives me hope that maybe someday I can find a way to forgive myself. The security guards were approaching now, but David was already walking away. Congratulations, Amelia. I hope you have a wonderful life. After he left, the reception continued, but the magic was gone. Amelia put on a brave face, but I could see the cracks in her facade. She went through the motions of cutting the cake, tossing the bouquet, dancing with our father. But her sparkle had dimmed. I found her in the bridal suite an hour later, sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at her hands. Hey, I said softly. How are you holding up? I don't know, she admitted. I thought I was over him. I thought I'd moved past all of that. You have moved past it. You married Marcus today. You're building a life with him. Then why do I feel so shaken up? Why did seeing David make me feel like that scared, broken girl again? I sat down beside her, taking her hand. Because he was a huge part of your life. Because he hurt you deeply. And seeing him probably brought back all those feelings you worked so hard to overcome. What if he's right? What if he has changed? It doesn't matter if he's changed, Amelia. What matters is that you've changed. You've grown stronger, more confident, more self-aware. You found someone who loves you exactly as you are. Marcus was so angry, she said. I've never seen him like that. He was protecting you. That's what people do when they love someone. She nodded slowly. I know. It's just... Seeing David again brought back so many memories. Good ones and bad ones. That's normal. But you can't let him steal your joy, Amelia. You can't let him have that power over you anymore. I know you're right. It's just hard. Marcus appeared in the doorway then, still in his tuxedo, but with his bow tie undone. Am I interrupting? No, Amelia said, standing and going to him. I was just having a moment. He pulled her into his arms, and I could see the love and concern in his eyes. Are you okay? Do you want to talk about what happened? I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry he ruined our reception. He didn't ruin anything, Marcus said firmly. Nothing could ruin this day for me. I got to marry the woman I love. Everything else is just noise. Watching them together, I felt a surge of protective love for both of them. This was what Amelia deserved, what she'd always deserved. Not the drama and chaos David had brought into her life, but this steady, unwavering devotion. I should let you two talk, I said, moving toward the door. Wait, Amelia called. Thank you, Natalie, for everything. For being there for me through the divorce, for helping me rebuild my life, for being here today. That's what sisters do, I said. We protect each other. As I left them alone, I thought about the long journey that had brought us to this point. After the divorce, Amelia had moved in with me for 6 months while she got back on her feet. She'd cried herself to sleep most nights, questioning everything she'd believed about love and marriage. Slowly, with the help of therapy and the support of our family, she'd begun to heal. She'd started her interior design business, which had thrived beyond her wildest dreams. She'd made new friends, pursued new hobbies, traveled to places she'd always wanted to see. When she met Marcus at a charity fundraiser 2 years ago, she'd been reluctant to date again. But Marcus had been patient, earning her trust gradually. He'd shown up for her consistently, supported her dreams, and loved her unconditionally. The rest of the reception passed without incident. The band played, the guests danced, and Amelia seemed to regain some of her earlier joy. When it came time for the newlyweds to leave for their honeymoon, she was laughing again, her eyes bright with happiness. "Thank you for today," she whispered as we hugged goodbye. "Thank you for letting me be part of it," I replied. "Now go enjoy your honeymoon, and don't think about David Morrison for 1 second," she laughed. "I won't, I promise." As their car pulled away, dragging tin cans and trailing white ribbons, I felt a sense of completion. We'd survived David's unexpected appearance, and Amelia was still glowing with happiness. She'd handled the situation with grace and strength, proving to herself and everyone else that she'd truly moved on. 3 months later, I was having lunch with Amelia when she brought up David for the first time since the wedding. "I got a letter from him," she said, pulling an envelope from her purse. "What kind of letter?" "An apology. A real one, not like the performance at the wedding. He's in therapy, apparently, working on himself." "Are you going to respond?" She shook her head. "No, I don't need to. I've forgiven him. Not for his sake, but for mine. But I don't need him in my life anymore." "How do you feel about that?" "Free," she said, smiling. "I feel free." And she was free. Free from the pain David had caused her. Free from the fear that had held her back for so long. Free to love and be loved completely. Her marriage to Marcus continued to thrive, built on a foundation of trust and respect that her first marriage had never possessed. 6 months after the wedding, Amelia called to tell me she was pregnant. Her voice was filled with the same joy I'd heard on her wedding day, but deeper now, more settled. "Marcus cried when I told him," she said. "Happy tears. He's already planning to convert the guest room into a nursery." "I'm so happy for you," I said, and I meant it. This was the life Amelia had always deserved, the happiness she'd never had with David. As I hung up the phone, I thought about that moment at the wedding when David had appeared like a ghost from the past. For a brief time, it had seemed like he might derail everything Amelia had built. But she'd proven stronger than her past, more committed to her future than haunted by her mistakes. The truth was, David's appearance had been a gift in disguise. It had shown Amelia and everyone else just how far she'd come, how completely she'd healed. She'd faced her past with courage and grace, and she'd chosen her future with Marcus. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to us is having our past show up to remind us of how much we've grown. Amelia's wedding had been perfect, not despite David's appearance, but because of how she'd handled it. She'd shown everyone there, including herself, that she was no longer the broken woman David had left behind. She was Amelia Patterson now, wife to Marcus, soon-to-be mother, successful businesswoman, and survivor of heartbreak who'd found her way back to love. She was everything she'd always had the potential to be, finally free to shine without anyone dimming her light. And as for David Morrison, he'd become exactly what he deserved to be in her story. A cautionary tale. A reminder of what she'd overcome. And proof that sometimes the worst thing that happens to us can lead to the best thing that ever happens to us. The wedding had been perfect, after all. Not because nothing went wrong, but because when something did go wrong, Amelia handled it perfectly. She'd chosen love over fear, present over past, and her future over her history. That's what real strength looks like. That's what true love can do. And that's why, despite David's dramatic entrance, Amelia's wedding day remained exactly what it was meant to be, the beginning of her happily ever after.